Good day. Welcome to Endurance Room. I hope you're doing well. The other day, my friend Anthony Powers from the Pooter Stomper channel posted a video making a fire in the rain. Pretty much the worst conditions you can hope for to make a fire. He did an awesome job, all with natural resources, and it got me thinking maybe I could show you guys some ideas for making a fire in the snow. It was actually raining all day yesterday. The weather's been so weird this winter. Yesterday was about 40 degrees and it rained all day for about, 20 hours. And then overnight the temperature dropped again. It's been in the 20s today and snowing most of the day, which presents its own unique challenges. When the wood is soaking wet and it freezes, you're basically working with ice. So I thought we could take a look at some of the natural resources in my area, and we'll get our fire going. I'll show you how I build the fire on top of the snow and then have a little chat. Welcome to Endurance Room. The area that I'm at right now is pretty interesting because it is a borderline between a predominantly deciduous forest and an evergreen conifer forest, both of which offer their own unique opportunities for natural resources. So right here we have a balsam fir, an evergreen, and this is what the deer have been snacking on. And these smaller branches are really great for getting your fire going. You can tell if they're wet or not just by giving them a snap. It's pretty crisp. When you hear a nice crisp snap like that, it means it's pretty dry. When it's kind of a soft and muted snap, that means the wood is water soaked. These branches are dead all the way back to the tree. And, rather than just take off individual, twigs for your fire, it's way quicker to go all the way back to the tree. And take the whole branch. Much more efficient. So right here with those 4 or 5 branches that we just collected, we've got enough smalls to help get our fire going and get it established. But then we need some kind of platform to build the fire on because of all the snow. So with that, we use some standing dead here and make a little platform. Here's our platform to build our fire on, up out of the snow, fairly dry. We'll bust up the smalls next. All right, we've got our smalls to help get our fire started. And then some larger pencil diameter, finger diameter sticks to get it sustaining. Now we need our Tinder Source, which is pretty much the most important part. That is going to be what gets the whole thing rolling. It's going to accept the ignition from our spark, from our flame, or friction. But today we're going to use a Ferro Rod, and we're going to use that to ignite some white birch. It's pretty easy to identify. White bark, it's got horizontal lines going across it. This tree is dead. Process it for your Ferro Rod, lay it down on a log, and I'll just take the edge of my knife and just kind of dig into the bark and shave it. And you want to make it as fine as you can. Just kind of lift the bark up on itself. You get these little flakes. You see how I kind of have the tip anchored and I'm just kind of rubbing it back and forth? The finer, the better. Here's our Ferro Rod. Kind of lifting it up, give it some air. The wood is definitely wet. When this stuff is dry, it'll just take off. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Got the flames up above the wood. Then we can add some more on. So the wind today, it's predominantly blowing this way. And because of that, I've staged the larger pieces off on this side to take advantage of that. So the fire is feeding into it, heating it up, slowly warming up and igniting it. The snow's about 2 foot, 3 foot deep. But because we're up on the logs, it's all good, doesn't matter. Another way you can tell the wood is wet is the smoke. See how dark it is? You know, the other day I posted a video on layered clothing for the cold, and in the comments somebody brought up hypothermia, and it kind of jogged my memory a bit to a time when I was young, and it kind of ties into what we got going on here today. But yeah, I had gone deer hunting with my dad. I was about 14. We were about maybe, you know, a mile away from our farm, and we'd gone through some farmland down to the edge of this woodland, and at the bottom of the valley where we were at was this big, huge, long marsh, and there was a channel that kind of like drained off a larger body of the swamp, and it had flooded, you know, during the fall, and it had come up into the woods probably like, you know, 3 or 4 feet off the ground, and it frozen solid. We had, you know, a good cold winter, lots of snow, and, you know, temperatures were probably down in the teens. We'd been down there playing on the ice, you know, ice skating and just hiking around. It let us have access to different parts of the forest that we couldn't usually get to, and, you know, we were comfortable with it. But I went deer hunting with my dad down there, and he posted up at, you know, the edge of the woodland, and I was gonna do a big circle and kind of drive back towards him and meet back up with him. And on my way through the trees, I kind of got closer to where the channel was, and the trees started to thin out, and the ice had gotten warmed up by the sun, and I broke through it. It was up to my knees, and I could not get back up on the ice. It just kept breaking, and no matter how hard I tried to lay down on it. I tried to, you know, lay out flat, and I basically ended up getting submerged up to my neck. It was pretty crazy. It was one of the most intense experiences I ever had, physically, mentally. After the first, you know, shock wore off, and, you know, the adrenaline kind of eased up, you know, I got really, really relaxed. You know, at one point, I just remembered I could have just laid down and went to sleep, and that would have been the end of it. Like, I was literally, you know, thinking that, and I was just like, no. And I kept pushing back towards where I knew he was posted up at. I got about halfway to him, about a quarter of a mile through this icy water, and at that point I realized, you know, hey, you need help now. And I fired my gun, you know, 4 or 5 times, and he realized something was wrong and started working his way towards me, and I heard his voice, and I got back to him, and he was able to get a fire going with some matches and some paper towels that he had in his pocket. I basically, you know, I stripped down and, you know, got warmed up next to the fire, and it was intense. And I guess, you know, the point of this is it's very important to be able to know how to build a fire. It's important to know your resources in your area that's going to facilitate doing so. You know, I always carry something to help me get one going. I've got a couple different means of ignition. I've got a couple different tinder sources. I usually carry natural tinder, some barks that I've collected, you know, when I'm hiking. I'll carry some fire starters. I've got, you know, a couple in here. I've got some wax jute twine, and I've got a couple Bigfoot Bushcraft fire starters. Those are really good. Right on, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you, Anthony, for inspiring this video today. If you guys aren't subscribed to Anthony's channel, Pooter Stomper, definitely go do that. Tell him I sent you, and you know, I'll catch you guys soon. If you got any questions about what we talked about here today, just let me know down in the comments. I'll try and help. All right, everyone. I hope you're good wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. I'll see you next time. Cheers.